or other things.
Live streaming is on.
Sorry.
Woo! We are live streaming. Yeah, I'm just talking about, we're just going through a round of introducing organizations we've been a part of and the governance processes that we liked in them. And my name is Moritz Bierling. Although the one organization that I have been a part of, but where I haven't really participated or haven't been able to really be part of that mode that they were in before I joined, was MetaCurrency or Holochain and the Holo team, which did something at the beginning that they called duocracy, which was basically people do things, and the people that do things, they get to just determine what gets done, and people who want to help them, they help them. And so it's very stigmergic, and people just swarm to whatever seems to work, actually. So, and then they just have regular calls where they check in, this is what I've done, this is what I'm going to do, and then people like, hey, do you need help with this, that kind of thing.
That's cool. Ravi, do you have a favorite organization decision-making process?
I would like to apologize ahead of time. It's very likely that you guys will hear my daughter singing the Zootopia song. She's kind of high on that right now. But what I actually kind of I like what Moritz said, because I think there is some value to that, and I saw some of that in actually in Magic Power. Some of that exists, you know. Just it's very fluid. It's very iterative. It's also, you know, it's quite decentralized in that sense. But I think more than governance itself, one place that I found very interesting, this concept of you know, ownership as based on the amount of work that you do, or like slicing the pie, as it's called. You know, I recently started kind of doing some work with Solara, which is Leon is on a lot of the threads that Griff, I know you're on. But it's this whole concept of startup kind of ownership based on work and contribution, as opposed to, you know, just kind of splitting the pie as it's normally done. It's a cool concept. Like there's a whole book and a bunch of research that's been done on it, which I think yeah, I'd like to share. But yeah, I really like that. That was a bit of an eye-opening moment for me.
Yeah, cool. Yes, I saw someone actually tried to do a hackathon project where they took an Aragon DAO and added slicing the pie into it automatically, which is really cool. But that was a great opener. I really appreciate you guys' input on that, and it's very relevant to the big thing that we want to try to accomplish in this call. But before we go into the decision-making debate, which we're having fun with, Livy and I are like forking each other's proposals and having some fun trying to make it fun to decide on the decision-making process. But I want to make sure that we are aware of the roadmap. So I will post the roadmap here, and just give a quick like update on where we are and where we're going. So there's that. And I guess I can share my screen. You guys can see how many tabs I have going. Oh, Grammarly. So, you know, we have a plan, but we'll see how it goes. We've already accomplished our goals of setting an initial vision, mission, and values. Right now, that document is being passed around to be reviewed. So if you want to see exactly what we're thinking about where we want to take the Token Engineering Commons, this is still work in progress that will be reviewed in October, but we needed something to stand on while we're making decisions going forward. And in a reviewed process that Livy and I looked through what our plan was and where we made mistakes, we identified not having a clear decision-making process when we're trying to do the vision, mission, and values. So that's something that we just kind of injected on right now. That plus the incentive design and recruitment approach. These are things that we're working on currently. So decision-making, formalizing a decision-making process, creating some sort of incentive design so that people who are contributing are being rewarded, and then figuring out how exactly we want to recruit people and how we want to structure the team. After that, the next steps will be to actually determine roles and things we need to do to kick the token engineering commons off and get the work done that needs to get done. Then we'll go into working groups, and then we'll actually build the token engineering commons from the technical side. We'll deploy it, test it, and then we'll have our own augmented bonding curve style DAO that will fund public goods in the token engineering space. So that's the quick roadmap. And if you think that there's any issues that we're missing in the roadmap, that is also a working document that can be commented on. Okay. The next piece is, so that's kind of the introduction. Now I want to introduce the decision-making debate. Maybe Olivia, do you want to talk? We both have 2 proposals for decision-making. Maybe you can talk about yours and I'll talk about mine.
Sure. Yeah, let me just open this doc. Can you guys see the doc, everyone?
Are you trying to share screen?
No, I was just going to go through it, but I see that people are there. Yeah, so the process we proposed based on conversations we had and on the last call we had is that we are sharing docs of the documents that are, we're sharing the progress in the documents of what we've been doing during the week, of what comes up during a call. And then we share these docs in the Discord channel, and people are invited to comment, to say what they think about this process before our next call that is on every Thursday. And then from Thursday on, we incorporate the feedbacks in the doc, and then we have a Friday voting. And the Friday voting
there. Sorry, I thought I was on mute.
Hello, nice van. So then the decision-making process is every Friday we propose to create a new channel on Discord, post each proposal that we have to be voted on in there, and to have a 2-step voting. The first step is that, is the proposal ready to vote? So people would quickly say yes or no, or signal what they think if that proposal is ready. And then the second step would be actually voting with emojis for yes, neutral, and block. And if the proposal passes, great. If it's neutral, majority neutral and yes, it also moves on to the next step. And if it's block, then it should be totally revised and proposed again into another voting session. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, so I also have a decision-making proposal. Actually, we kind of decided, instead of trying to integrate it almost as an experiment, we would just fork it, even though it's almost the same, but just like to have more fun with the decision-making. Making decisions over decision-making, it's very fractal, holographic. So figure might as well make it a challenge as well and test the process. So my proposal is almost the same. The big differences are I went in a little more detail about proposing exact solutions or for outcomes. And I posted my link to the decision-making process below. But the biggest difference is that there is no proposal ready to vote decision. And it's kind of customized for this idea of like, if there's one proposal to vote on, versus, and it needs to be approved versus if there's multiple competing proposals, and just having kind of a fork choice rule for if it's a decision that has only one proposal and it just needs to be revised, or we need to wait for more people to make proposals, or if there's already competing proposals, how do we decide which one is decided? So, I mean, really, this is a meeting, so not much can get done here about actually solving these questions, but definitely want to leave open for clarifying questions about these proposals, and then encourage people to comment on them. So, does anyone have any questions about what we're proposing? I know Jess just came in, so it might be a little...
Yeah, sorry, I was wrapping some other things and just realized the time. I'm just catching up. Got a little bit behind when we were off grid. So I'm just going to take a few minutes to look at these, and I don't know. It seemed like you guys were on a roll so far, so looks great what's been proposed here.
Well, Maurice, do you happen to have any questions, or should we just keep pushing forward?
No, sounds good. Let's just keep going.
Great. Yeah, so big thing, the documents are there. We're going to try to integrate as many comments as we can in the next 22 hours. And then we're actually going to try to put it for a vote. I think we'll have to do it in the TE Commons channel, but I assume it will just get blocked. That's what I would vote for, because we need more input. So we'll see how that goes. The next thing is rewarding contributors exercise. So I want to make kind of a pass the kind of like get everyone's opinion on the call about the best way to reward contributors for helping out to build this token engineering commons. So maybe I'll pass it to Olivia first, and you guys can pass it back to me, because I have very clear ideas on how to reward people. I don't want to poison you guys. So the question is, if you're a contributor to building the token engineering commons, or any project really, what's the best way to reward your effort? Olivia?
I think for me, I put it all these options here of reputation, work credit, financially, through exchanges or any other ways. And I think they're all valid. Like for me personally, I would, depending on each situation, find what works best for me based on what's offered. So I think it's important for us to understand what we can offer first.
Cool. I mean, do you have any like, let's say that we can offer the world, like, what's your favorite way of being rewarded?
I think it would be maybe reputation, work credit, and financially, like if it could be a balance of both.
Okay, you want to pass it to someone?
Pass it to Jess.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the person. And what I found interesting about going through the kind of currency potluck process is like to really see where everybody's at. I feel like there's so many projects I've been on where we haven't even gone through that process to really understand like what are people's needs, and maybe those needs are changing, you know, I think always when I've been managing teams, I find that, you know, verbal praise and understanding the needs goes a long way, more so than the actual meeting the needs. Like even just people feeling seen and heard is like, and the validation, I think is kind of a huge process that even going through the process of understanding needs is like an inherent value for a lot of people. Getting a little meta there, but no, it's true. I think just going through that process is really valuable. And then for me personally, I mean, Yeah, I think it's changing all the time. So it's usually a mix of like kind of similar to you, Livy, like the work credit. Right now, particularly like maybe financial, because I'm kind of in between a bunch of stuff, but that could shift. So I think just having this process to understand people's needs and then updating that and just being aware that that can change because it's life and things are always moving around. So I think just, yeah, we were talking about this, Livy, like just literally listening and asking questions first from the community before the decision making and deciding these kind of things is really important. Moritz, do you have service there? MB?
Yeah, I do. Let me know if it's good enough. Otherwise, just read what I wrote there, please. But yeah, if it's good enough right now, then I just specify. So for me, I'm most interested in just, in general, having my contribution be just tracked in some way, just also for my own benefit, just so I see it for myself. And that is good enough for me because that buys me access to other groups, and in that way then bring energy from those groups into this again. And then if there are any kind of specific or sub projects that have a more specific focus or that have some kind of timeline to create something on, then the other arrangement should work out, I think, or should be individually created for that. But I think that's sort of the structure that I would envision.
Oh, that's really interesting. More individual one-on-one solutions as opposed to here's an open solution anyone can plug into.
Oh, and I forgot one thing I wanted to mention from experience. When I was running a team, for example, for Anarch Portugal for the event, we had 2 part-time people who were working with us. And for example, they came to me with an ask of like, you know, you can pay me 10 or 15 euros an hour. And we actually just went ahead and doubled that because we thought that their value was much higher. And from then on, like the energy was crazy. And even to this day, like just that made such a huge impact on them to like feel valued. And it just carried through for pretty much ever. And to this day, like these people would, you know, do favors if I asked or whatever. Just that acknowledgement of like, I see you and I really, really value you, and you are undervaluing yourself, you know? So that's something interesting that I noticed in another project as well. I did the same. Like I went to bat and like got more because my one employee, he was Filipino, and there was a lot of kind of discrimination in Thailand for paying less. So I went to bat for him. I was like, no, this is our best employee. Like he works harder than anyone else and he's made a huge impact. And so, yeah, I think when you go like above and beyond and helping people even to like value themselves more, then it has like a really big impact on like the reciprocity and like we talked about, Livy.
Cool. Okay, so I'll throw my 2 cents in. Given the context, especially for the Token Engineering Commons, because we're going to launch a token, and it's kind of weird that the setup for the Commons is that you know, as opposed to source cred, we're bootstrapping with capital. So hashers, a group of people can put money in, and then that money turns into tokens. Well, and then those tokens get to decide where a portion of the money actually goes. So like in the Commons setup, there's when the hatchers put money in, some of the money goes to create tokens, and some of the money actually is donated to the token engineering community, and the people with the tokens get to decide how exactly that money is donated. So I think for us specifically, it's really easy to just add a little slice of the pie that is like what I would call our cultural build tribute, where a portion of the funds are then taken, the portion that is buying tokens, some of those tokens actually go to the people who contributed value to creating the token engineering commons. But I would agree, more than anything, the acknowledgement of the work is probably the most important. And so I created a incentive alignment proposal here in a Google Doc that I guess I can share right here. Just copy it in. That is also open for feedback, of course, please. And the idea is kind of to just take what we've already done with Giveth, or sorry, well, it evolved from Giveth, but with the common stack where we have this praise bot, where anytime someone does something good for the token engineering commons, we will praise that person. And that praise will be tracked transparently in a spreadsheet. And every 2 weeks, a couple people who are kind of have a special arrangement with the praise process, so they don't have conflicts of interest, they will then judge subjectively the contributions that were identified in praise. So a lot of people can praise, then 2 people will vote on how that praise should be quantified, because that's always a challenge. Contributions are generally qualitative, and now we want to create something that's quantitative. So I think that just takes a human translator, right, to just kind of figure it out. But what's important is that translation is then public, so everyone can see the quantification and argue it, appeal it, whatever, and then we have a conversation from there. And so that's one piece, is just how do we acknowledge it, and that's my proposal for that. And then how do we reward those acknowledgements is kind of a separate piece, and I would propose that we do this cultural build tribute. And I actually created a sort of a spreadsheet to outline an initial proposal of how that could align incentives, which is basically the more funds that are raised in the Hatch tribute, because part of the cultural builds metrics of whether or not it's a good cultural build is if a lot of people want to be a part of it and want to contribute funds to it. So if a lot of people contribute funds to the Hatch, then we must have done a good cultural build. And so that's like a really good metric. That's the dominating metric for rewarding and acknowledging the work that was done. And then if there's a lot of money that was put in there, then the percentage of the total funds for the hatchers is actually less. So maybe it's like 1%. But then the cultural build people will be rewarded at about an estimated $200 an hour, right? This would be the reward ratio. But if not a lot of people come in, then the reward ratio would be, let's say, 10%. So 10% of the funds that comes in from the hatchers are then 10% of the tokens created from the funds that come in go to the cultural build people. But then that rate would only be $20 an hour. So you kind of have that mix. So there's a spreadsheet illustrating that in this working doc. It's just a proposal, and it's definitely open for feedback. I think that's probably best done asynchronously, but I'd love to hear if there's any questions about my proposal. For clarifying questions, this is a great forum for it. No? It's okay if not. Let me see what is next on our agenda. Cool. Okay, so if you guys don't have any clarifying questions, for sure the document is great to just ask questions about, ideally commenting straight into it and tearing it apart. Also, if you have ideas that could be added to it, integrated to it, just put them in. There's kind of 2 sections. There's my initial proposal at the top, and then the bottom is just brainstorming space, divided into acknowledgement strategies and reward strategies. So you can kind of, I think it's a nice mental model to separate the two. And you can just add things in. Maybe they can be piggybacked into this current idea. Maybe you have a better idea completely and you just want to copy this document and make a competing proposal. That would be so cool. But it's okay if that doesn't happen, of course. So then, the next topic is recruitment working groups. So there's this other idea of like, how do we recruit people to start supporting this project? In general, the idea behind the Common Stack is that you have a core group of community stewards, people who are willing to put in the time and lead projects within the cultural build to make this thing a reality. There's a core team that is steering the community. And I sort of am, I haven't made a formalized proposal, but I'm sort of imagining that this community steward group is relatively, what do you call that? Like liquid. People can kind of come in and come out, but there needs to be some sort of formal onboarding for people to say, yes, you are part of the token engineering community and you have enough knowledge and foundation to actually lead a working group. And also just creating a label around the token engineering community stewards, I think would be very healthy for creating a community there. And so we need to figure out like an onboarding and potentially an offboarding process for becoming a community steward, and figure out who we want to be working on this, and then, you know, what is the ideal environment for working groups? Maybe some working groups, each working group might have their own environment. So like just some context behind what a working group is. This would be like, you can imagine a working group that wants to model the token engineering commons in CAD/CAD. They want to work on that. I'm imagining there would be kind of a leader who wants to steer this, and then they would make a proposal of what they're trying to do and attract people to work on it with them, and know before work gets started what being done looks like. There'd also need to be one for legal, for instance, for technical design and technical specs. There's going to be like, how do we reach out to hatchers and making strategies around attracting projects to use the token engineering commons. We're going to need several working groups, and people can participate in multiple working groups, and probably, you know, this is something that we need to make decisions about, hopefully this week. And yeah, and then some other questions around this is, how open do we want to be as a community? Do we want to just let anyone come in and be completely like radically inclusive and give power out liberally, or do we want to be more structured and maintain you know, some stronger barriers and boundaries around who is given power within the, you know, the initial creation of this project? There's benefits and there's pros and cons to both sides, but it's something that we should talk about this upcoming week. And yeah, so curious if anyone has any ideas on recruitment and how radically inclusive we should be in these sorts of things. This is a great space to start playing with those ideas. Yeah, Moritz, go for it.
Yeah, I don't think that we need to necessarily decide how many people we want to come in or something like that, but more what rate of entry we want to have on what kind of time scale, because part of the problem is of having a lot of people enter without onboarding them properly is that then the culture gets diluted and the goals get lost and all those kind of things. So I think it's more important to actually define, okay, in this kind of time scale, we can onboard feasibly this amount of people and then that is sort of a limit to which you can go, and then maybe you can go below that, and then you'll probably actually end up investing more in the fewer people that actually do enter, and that is a good outcome too. It's more about limits, I think.
Nice, that's valuable. Anybody else have perspectives on onboarding and recruitment?
I think maybe one other consideration is kind of dealing in the area that we're in. There's a bit of an education gap. So I think there's like to onboard people who may not be as far down the rabbit hole may require extra energy. So maybe this is a consideration in how much energy before contributions and this kind of balance as well between inclusive and exclusive, and also like how much energy and time is put in the onboarding and education of people who maybe you educate them and you spend a lot of time and then they leave. So maybe, yeah, there's some kind of bar for like how much the education process. I mean, I think, you know, Livy and I have had chats about this too. We tend to be like very inclusive. But yeah, I don't think it's so much of an issue as some other organizations, because probably if you're here and you even know what token engineering is, then you belong here. So I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue as far as like having so many folks. But hi, this is my friend, Roger.
Hi.
Hi, Roger.
Hi.
He's going to join the token engineering comments down the road.
Nice. We need more age diversity, you know?
Yeah, I tried to get that 12-year-old developer. I haven't heard back yet. I'm going to keep stalking him.
Yeah. Well, okay, I think that's a good point, though, Jess, is around the, like, you know, if you've heard of this, then if you know of token engineering, then, you know, that's probably a good barrier. But also then we have to decide how we promote it, you know. Maurice?
Yeah, I think there's this one property that I feel is crucial to what you could call collective intelligence, which is present in all groups in some way, shape, or form. But that property is holopticism, as in the ability of the part to be able to see the whole. And so in order for people to intelligently select themselves into this group, and also for the people within the group to be able to see what's happening in the group and to intelligently steer to what they can invest their energy in, it would be great to have some kind of way to sort of see everything that's part of this thing in one view. So some kind of whiteboard, some kind of way of like seeing, okay, this is the way we're structuring it. Because everything right now, so far, as far as I can tell, is on the website. And that's great, actually, because it forces the conversation into a single action, basically, like gathering that trusted seed. And maybe we can specify more there what kind of people we actually want in that trusted seed. I think it's pretty good so far already. But maybe something we can build towards that then allows us to manage how many people we can onboard is to give people even more of a idea of what actually the roadmap or the pacing of this development is like. I saw that you created that roadmap in that document, but I don't think that's accessible to people in that format, right?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely have to agree that the roadmap is not accessible. That's what it seems like.
Because then people can actually then say, okay, actually, I should come in like 2 months down the road, not right now. So.
Yeah. Can you repeat what that word was that you said, where everyone can see the whole?
Yeah, it's called holopticism. I'll write it in the chat too. The ability of the individual to see the whole. Yeah, it's basically it's similar to swarm dynamics, where the individual is able to see immediately around it and just respond to that. But there's something unique about human collectives, which is where they are able to see what the entire group is doing, and based on the entire group can then steer intelligently and sort of anticipate where to move to in order to be a functional contributing part of the entirety.
Yeah. So I think that's a really valuable input, that we need to make sure that everyone can see exactly what is happening around, right? So that they can feel that they know best where they can plug in and add value, be acknowledged, these sorts of things. Cool. Olivia, you were, yeah.
Yeah, I think this seems to be unclear from the relationship with everyone that it's mostly involved with the T community, and what is this barrier of entry? Like, are we wanting to open, like, who is this view for? You know, if we have like a view of everything, then who are we delivering this to? I think it's good to understand that also. Like, what is the target audience even for the whole vision?
Yeah, maybe it's just for actually the team that's involved, and then there's a much lower resolution version available for public consumption, for example. Definitely.
Taking notes. Cool. Well, Olivia, is there anything else that we should tackle during this call? We actually hit all the topics on our agenda. It helps when it's a smaller call, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's mostly it. Maybe like reinforcing for you guys to go into the docs and share comments and feedbacks if you have.
Yeah, I guess I just had a question. Is there a draft of the cultural playbook, or when you say cultural playbook, what are you envisioning that form being? I've heard a few different things along the way.
Yeah, so there's two things on the cultural playbook. There is the cultural playbook for the Commons stack that we want to draft as a reusable template for other communities to do with Commons. And then there's the cultural playbook for the Token Engineering Commons itself. The reusable one is like a kind of a dream that Livy and I are working on, like ideally every week. We just meet up and 1 week or 2 weeks and just talk about what went well, what didn't go well, and then you know, have those noted for our future construction of that. But then there is actually a work in progress cultural playbook for the Token Engineering Commons, and it's like the first message in the TE Commons Discord channel, but I will pull it up here. And it's very much a work in progress. It is in no way anywhere near done. There.
I got it.
Oh, nice. Okay, thank you. We're trying to keep it up to date with them, like the mission, vision, and values are in there, and some comments. But for the most part, it's really just a quick brainstorm, and most of it was ripped out of the Commons Stack white paper and slightly edited. So yeah. Well, then let's just do a closing round, and you know, if you have the extra time to go in and edit some of these proposals around decision making and incentive alignment, that would be great. But just a little bit on closing thoughts. So I'll model. Thank you guys so much for coming. A blast. I love it when we can end calls early and give people some time to go to the bathroom, you know, between the call after call after call during this window of time. And then it's just nice to have proposals to share, and I hope that we keep this format of trying not to do anything during the calls and just see. I'll pass it to Olivia.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming. Thanks, Moritz, for coming. It was cool to have a chat and then see that immediately someone like acted forward on things. So it's exciting. And thank you all.
Pass it.
Pass it to Moritz.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see a group model what I see as crucial part of building any kind of community, which is to regularly put out information and bring them together. So I really like the process that you have here, and I like the extremely good preparation for it. Like all of these documents here, like I can actually jump in, track what you're saying rather than just listening to you, and that helps a lot. So and just the openness to contribution. So I'm looking forward to becoming more of a part of this as much as I can, and look forward to seeing what comes down the pipeline. Thanks for hosting this space so well, and I'll pass it to Jessica.
Thanks, Moritz. If Moritz is here, I'm definitely here. Yeah, no, it's, and that goes for Olivia and Griff also. Happy to be all in one digital space together. It makes me super happy. This is probably the best Zoom call I'll have all week. But yeah, I'm just like in exploring mode and seeing how this unfolds. I really enjoyed, I really enjoyed so far how involved and like open the process has been in like integrating all of the ideas of the community. And I think there's some amazing collective intelligence going on in this group. So yeah, looking forward to like how this evolves with the governance processes and contributions and working groups, because I think there's a lot of amazing talent here. And then, yeah, just seeing how this kind of experiment can translate into sharing with other groups and kind of putting it out into the other ethers, in that these open source collectives can actually like get things done and coordinate together and iterate on some things. So yeah, looking forward to how this evolves. But so far, I really honor the work of Griff and Livy. I can see you guys have been hard at work. Putting together all these documents. So I really appreciate all the energy you're putting in. So thank you.
Thanks, guys. And
I'm here listening in.
Hey, everybody.
Jeff.
In the front seat.
He's editing the academic paper for like the last 4 hours.
Nice.
Nice to hear things are going well.
We're moving. Oh yeah, we're moving. I know.
Yeah,
right?
the progress is good and the roadmap looks great. So keep it up. Keep up the good work, and we'll keep jumping in as we can.
Well, thank you guys. Yeah, it was a good call. And if you got the 10 minutes to hack on our documents and be liberal with comments, we would greatly appreciate it. More feedback is always better. And then we will see you next week.
You want to say bye?
Bye.
Bye, Roger.
Bye.
Moritz, we got to catch up. Livy also do. Bye, guys. Talk to you soon, Griff.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, guys.
Ciao, ciao.